Welcome to Comics A to Z, and we are continuing from our last video and getting back into Marvel A files. So as I mentioned in my previous video, or if you haven't seen it, in this video I will be talking in brief about the absorbing man in the Marvel comics, and as well as will relate it to the future of MCU. So let's dive into the video right away. So the original name of the absorbing man is Karl Crusher Greed, and by occupation he's a criminal, and he stands 6 feet 4 inch tall. So he made his first appearance in Journey into Mystery volume 114. So what is his backstory? So Karl Greil was born and raised in New York, and he spent most of his time as a criminal. He later also became a boxer with the ring name of Rocky. So he chose this ring name of Rocky to honor his cousin who was named Rocky Davis. So he went on to fight a lot of matches, and he also decided that he wants to win the World Heavyweight Championship. So he focused himself over there and kept climbing the stairs towards that championship. Unfortunately, he lost to Jack Murdoch, and he didn't just lose that very match, but he also lost all of his motivation to fight. So this loss led him to becoming a thug, and he decided to put use of his muscles in the crime field. But this crime field didn't serve him well, so he was later arrested and sent to the prison. So absorbing man's magical powers, what can he do? So he can magically duplicate within himself the physical and mystical properties of anything he physically contracts, including various forms of energy. He even once used Captain's shield and the vibranium to absorb into himself and became the very material. So even if his body is broken into various pieces in a non-human state, he can mentally reassemble it. But wait, how did he get all these magical powers? So Loki, who is the brother of Thor and Odin's son, and you must have seen him and known him from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but in case you don't know, don't worry, I will be talking about every single character when their turn comes. So Loki was seeking a pawn, so he could use that against Thor. And while searching for a pawn, he came across this criminal, and he endowed Karl Greil and his ball and chain with power to absorb the physical properties of anything he touched. So Greil broke out of the prison and fought against Thor, just as according to Loki's plan. He wasn't happy, he wanted more. That much power wasn't enough for him. He became greedy and he overreached his limit, and he tried to absorb the power of the whole earth. And later he exploded himself. But Loki wasn't done, and so wasn't Karl Greil, and he wasn't dead yet. So Loki reassembled his body using magical powers, and later Loki announced him as his ally so he can use him to overthrow his father Odin from the throne of Asgard. Of course, that absorbing man didn't stand a single chance against Odin. So when he was fighting Odin, he tried to absorb Odin's power as well, but Odin overpowered him and banished him into the outer space. In the comics, Absorbing Man didn't just fight Thor, he faced several heroes such as Hulk, Black Widow, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and even the Avengers. So talking about the Secret Wars, that was staged by the Beyonder, Carl Creel was abducted from the prison and he was made to fight for him. During this time, he met Mary McFerrin, who is also known by the name of Titania, who he later married. So both worked together and battled against a lot of superhuman opponents. Titania had exactly like a similar background with the Absorbing Man. She was also a criminal and received her superpowers from somewhere. I will be talking more in depth about her when the chance comes. Let's take one more step back. So who is Beyonder? So Beyonder is a mysterious embodiment of some other universe, and maybe he is also a cosmic mutant. So yes, I will again talking about Beyonder in way more details when his turn comes. So going back to the Absorbing Man and Titania, though they fought a lot of times as a duo, they were defeated by another duo, the Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Absorbing Man spent most of his life getting recruited by someone, and once he was even recruited by Crossbones to fight against Captain America. So he is thought to be killed by Sentry during the Civil War, and it was also revealed later on that he was the father of Stonewall and the Secret Warriors. But wait, who is Stonewall? Stonewall is son of Carl Creel, as I mentioned before, and he received his power from his father. But when Carl Creel came back to the Earth, his power was taken away by Norman Osborn. Now, if you have seen the old Sony Spider-Man movies, you must have a clear idea of who Norman Osborn is, and we are really hoping for him to come soon, because without him, the Spider-Man universe feels empty. And we haven't seen him yet, and we might see him in the Spider-Man 3 or any future movies, but I think the Marvel Studios are surely planning to bring him soon. At some point, Creel was imprisoned in a maximum security. He also had somehow developed a new aspect of power, which allowed him to take over the minds of other people. So with this new power, what he actually did was he took control of the Hulk, and he was able to escape that maximum security. Though Absorbing Man defeated the Hulk, but he was tricked into trying to take over the mind of a corpse, which later resulted his body to be turned into dust and he died. He was imprisoned again, serving in a PIM experimental penitentiary number 1, a prison that kept its superpower inmates miniaturized and participated in a breakout led by a mad thinker, only to be thwarted by She-Hulk. So if you haven't heard of She-Hulk, Marvel is planning to bring her own TV show, and we will see on Disney Plus really soon. She also gained a power similar to Hulk. She was also radiated by the very gamma rays Bruce Banner made it in the US Naval Force base. So the Marvel wasn't done with the Absorbing Man yet. So during the Fear itself, it is a Marvel crossover comic book. Creel became repowered and became the Grethot Breaker of Fields, one of the agents of the Destructions for the Worthy. If you have seen the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you must have seen the Absorbing Man. The Carl Creel was there in a lot of episodes, and he was also mentioned few times in Daredevil. But since those are not considered canon anymore, we haven't seen the Absorbing Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But let's talk about how I can see where Marvel Cinematic Universe will be including the Absorbing Man. Absorbing Man can also be announced as a villain for the upcoming TV show She-Hulk. You can also see him in the third Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, as they can introduce both Absorbing Man and Titania, where Ant-Man and Wasp defeats them. You might not see him in the Thor movie because Loki is having his own different TV show right now, and he is fighting the Time Police right now, so Thor clearly doesn't seem to be setting the entry of Absorbing Man yet. So in my opinion, the best way right now they can be including the Absorbing Man is in the She-Hulk show, or maybe as the next Ant-Man and the Wasp villain. So that is pretty much it. That is the brief introduction about Absorbing Man, his history and his fate in the Marvel Comics, and how he can be related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In my next video in the Marvel A-Files, I will be talking about Abyss. So please do like and subscribe so you're updated with my new videos, and also update yourself with knowledge about the vast universe of Marvel Comics.